You could be lying next to a woman every night and not realize she's already gone. She smiles. She says goodnight. She shares your table. But her mind is elsewhere. The scariest part? She won't tell you directly. She'll drop tiny phrases, soft words that sound harmless, but are really her way of pulling away while keeping you blind. And while you wait, hoping it's just a phase, you're losing respect, losing dignity, and losing your place in her life. I'm about to walk you through the 7 phrases women use when they're already leaving you, without admitting it. Once you know them, you'll stop being blindsided and start seeing the truth for what it is. Before I walk you through these 7 phrases, let's connect for a moment. Subscribe if you haven't yet, drop a like, and tell me in the comments what city you're watching from. I want to see just how far this message is reaching, and I'm excited to see our community growing stronger every day. Now let's get back to the story, because what you're about to hear is the first phrase women use when they're already leaving without saying a word. Number 1. I feel disconnected. You hear that line, and your first instinct is to fix it. You start scrolling through memories for what you did wrong, promising yourself you'll talk more, plan a weekend, try harder in bed, be sweeter at dinner. Stop. That sentence is rarely the beginning of a problem. It's the quiet announcement that her attraction has already moved. When a woman still burns for you, connection doesn't need a speech. It shows up as eye contact, playful touch, impatience to be alone with you. Disconnected appears when the closeness has faded and she wants a soft exit ramp. Here's the psychology. People avoid saying, "I don't want you the way I used to." It threatens their self-image and invites accountability. So the mind reaches for a spiritual-sounding wrapper. Disconnection. It feels honest without being specific. Notice the supporting signals. Her replies get polite. Her phone becomes a tiny fortress. She doesn't initiate intimacy. Compliments stop. She's oddly energized for everyone but you. That's not a mystery. That's redirected desire. The impact on you is brutal if you handle it wrong. You interpret disconnected as a call to perform. You over-communicate, over-explain, over-promise. Translation to her nervous system. He's chasing my distance, not leading. Your value drops because you're negotiating for the very thing that used to be given freely. The more you plead, the less she feels. So you respond like a man who reads the room, not like a man who begs for it to change. Your testing move is simple and firm. I hear you. I want us to be clear, not confused. Let's set aside time this weekend for a real conversation about what's changed. I'll schedule it. You're calm, you're kind, and you're in control of the frame. You offer a container where honesty has to show up. No lectures, no guilt, a clear appointment with reality. What happens next tells you everything. If she leans in, keeps the appointment, brings specifics, shows willingness to rebuild, great. Now you can co-create a plan. Transparency with devices, genuine effort toward intimacy, shared routines that relight attraction. But if she dodges, postpones, or returns with vague poetry, I just need to feel more aligned, read the verdict. Avoidance is an answer. Misdirection is an answer. A woman who wants you will risk discomfort to keep you. Your decisive move then is dignity, not drama. If we can't have clarity, I won't live in confusion. I'm stepping back. You don't punish, you protect your center. You reduce availability, stop performing for crumbs, and end the open tab on your attention. Because a relationship can survive conflict, it cannot survive indifference disguised as wisdom. You're not here to be managed. You're here to be met. Number 2, I need time for myself. At first, that phrase sounds reasonable. We all need space. We all need moments alone. But in relationships, timing and context change everything. A woman doesn't usually say this when things are stable, connected, and alive. She says it when her attention has already begun to drift, when there's a new spark pulling her thoughts away from you. Time for myself often isn't about meditation retreats or self-discovery. It's about emotional freedom to explore without accountability. Here's the psychology. Human beings hate to admit betrayal outright, so the mind dresses it up. Instead of, I want distance because someone else excites me, she frames it as, I need space to find myself. This softens the guilt and makes her sound noble, even spiritual. Meanwhile, you're left thinking you should be patient, supportive, the understanding partner. But what's really happening is she's asking for freedom with a safety net. She wants to hold on to your loyalty while testing the thrill of disloyalty. The impact on you is dangerous if you misinterpret it. Too many men nod along. Of course, take all the time you need. I'll wait. That isn't love. That's self-abandonment. You become a placeholder, a backup plan, a man in suspension while she auditions a new life. The more you tolerate this fog, the less respect she has for you. Because the truth is simple. Desire doesn't ask for permission. If she wanted you, she wouldn't need time. She would need you. So how do you respond without falling into desperation? You use the testing strategy. Calmly, without sarcasm, you say, I respect your need for space. But I need clarity. Does this time mean we're still moving forward together, or does it mean you've already checked out? Be honest so I know how to act. That statement shows strength. You're not forbidding her, but you're also not blind. You're requiring definition. It's a boundary disguised as a question. Now watch carefully. If she engages honestly, if she defines what she wants and demonstrates effort to keep you close, then maybe there's a path to rebuild. But if she stays vague, I don't know, I just need to think. Recognize that vagueness is the answer. The fog is her cover. A woman invested in you doesn't hide behind smoke. She steps into the fire with you. And if the avoidance continues, here's your decisive move. You don't wait, you don't beg, you don't play the obedient man on standby. You say, if this time means uncertainty, then I choose certainty. I won't stay in limbo. Then step back with composure. That is not cruelty, it's clarity. Because the man who tolerates endless me time slowly loses his own time, his dignity, and eventually his soul. Number 3, not everything has to be physical. On the surface, that line sounds wise. It carries a calm, almost spiritual tone. And of course, intimacy isn't the only measure of love. But here's the catch. When attraction is alive, no one needs to explain it. Desire flows naturally. Touches happen. Closeness feels effortless. Kisses are spontaneous. The moment she starts announcing that not everything has to be physical, it usually means something has already shifted. She's rationalizing the absence of desire. Psychologically, this is a shield. Saying it allows her to reduce the importance of closeness without admitting where her attention is going. It reframes you as the needy one, the shallow one, while she plays the enlightened role. Meanwhile, her body language tells the real story. Short hugs, quick kisses, avoidance of intimacy, excuses about fatigue or stress. Her desire isn't gone. It's just not directed at you anymore. That's the hard truth most men refuse to face. The impact on you can be devastating. You start questioning yourself. Am I being too demanding? Am I insensitive? You stop initiating because you don't want to appear pushy. Slowly, you settle into the role of roommate instead of lover. And once that shift cements, you're not her man anymore. You're her provider, her friend, her safe background noise. All while someone else is awakening the very fire she denies exists. So how do you cut through the fog? You test without aggression. You say, I agree, not everything has to be physical, but intimacy is an essential part of our bond. I want to know, do you still want that closeness with me? Direct. calm, unflinching. You're not begging for validation. You're requesting clarity. And her answer or her silence reveals more than any excuse. If she reassures you and actively participates in reconnecting, if effort shows up in both her words and her body, you've got something to work with. But if she dodges, minimizes, or guilt trips you, you're making too much of this. Take note. That isn't enlightenment. That's avoidance. That's her way of preserving the appearance of partnership while secretly withdrawing from it. Your decisive move, if the truth is clear, is simple. You stop negotiating for intimacy that should be mutual. You refuse to play therapist while another man plays lover. You say, if desire isn't here, I won't pretend it is. And then you act accordingly, by stepping back, reclaiming your self-worth, and refusing to live as a shadow of the man you once were. Because a bond without closeness isn't noble. It's empty. And an empty bond will eat you alive if you keep feeding it with denial. Number 4. You've changed too. This one is sly because it sounds fair. Relationships do involve change. But when she drops this line in the middle of distance and fading desire, it's not about fairness. It's about balance of guilt. She's laying down an alibi. If you ever confront her about pulling away, about talking to someone else, about her coldness, she already has a ready-made defense. Well, you changed first. It shifts the spotlight from her choices to your supposed failures. Here's the psychology at play. When someone feels trapped between who they appear to be and what they secretly want, they invent a narrative that makes them the victim. Blame is the quickest way to justify betrayal. By telling you, you've changed, she creates a script where she is reacting, not acting. It allows her to disconnect with less shame. It also plants a seed in your mind that maybe her distance is your fault. And once you buy into that, she's free to keep detaching without resistance. The impact on you is corrosive. Instead of standing firm, you begin apologizing for things you didn't even do. You replay your routines, your habits, your tone of voice, wondering where you slipped. You bend over backward, trying to prove you're still the man she fell for. But the tragedy is this. The more you try to prove it, the more she feels confirmed that you've indeed lost your edge. You become a defendant in a court, where the verdict was written long before the trial began. So how do you turn this around? You test with strength. Look her in the eye and say, yes, I have changed. Now tell me exactly what you mean. What have you noticed? That response does two things. First, it disarms the vague accusation. Second, it puts the responsibility on her to provide evidence instead of throwing smoke. A partner invested in truth will get specific. She'll bring up habits, patterns, moments that can be discussed. But someone hiding behind manipulation will stay foggy, repeating the same line without substance. Now, if she dodges, I can't explain. It's just a feeling. That's your answer. She doesn't want clarity. She wants cover. And when cover becomes the theme, the relationship isn't about connection anymore. It's about her building an exit ramp while keeping her conscience intact. Your decisive move is to reclaim the frame. Yes, I've changed. I no longer tolerate vague blame. I don't play the guilty man when I've done nothing wrong. That statement flips the script. You're not the defendant. You're the judge of your own dignity. And once you refuse to carry false guilt, you step out of her emotional trap. Because the moment you stop accepting accusations without proof, you stop being her excuse, and you start being your own man again. Number 5. I don't want to talk right now, I'm tired. Every couple has tired nights, but when this phrase becomes a pattern, it's not about exhaustion. It's about escape. She isn't just tired, she's tired of you. That's the hard truth most men try to ignore. When a woman still desires you, she finds energy for conversation, for laughter, even for arguments. She might be exhausted from work, but one text from you can spark life again. When she starts using "I'm tired" as a shield, what she's really saying is, I don't care enough to deal with you. Here's the psychology. Avoidance is a slow form of exit. Instead of facing discomfort directly, she hides behind fatigue. It's non-confrontational, safe, and socially acceptable. Who can argue against someone being tired? It buys her time, and it slowly conditions you to stop expecting communication. Over weeks, this becomes progressive disengagement, her quiet way of turning the lights off on the relationship without admitting it. The impact on you is subtle but destructive. At first, you excuse it. She had a hard day, let her rest. Then you excuse it again. Before long, every meaningful conversation is postponed. You start to feel invisible. Your concerns shrink because you don't want to be pushy. The relationship slips into silence, and you end up living beside someone who no longer engages with you at all. And here's the kicker. Her energy isn't gone, it's redirected. She has energy to text someone else at midnight, but not to hear you out at 9 p.m. So what's the move? You don't throw a tantrum and you don't roll over either. You test. You say, "All right, rest tonight. But we need to sit down this weekend for a serious talk about the distance between us. I'll set the time." That line communicates two things: empathy and authority. You're not heartless, but you're also not a fool. You create a deadline for honesty, and you claim the role of the one steering the ship. Now, if she agrees and actually shows up for that talk, you'll know whether there's effort left. If she brings specifics, if she opens up, maybe the bond can be salvaged. But if she dodges again, cancels, or keeps pushing the talk into a vague future, the message is crystal clear. She's not interested in rebuilding. She just wants to avoid responsibility while you wither away. Your decisive move then is firm. If the conversations that matter never happen, then this relationship doesn't matter either. You don't have to shout. You don't have to beg. You simply stop investing in a dynamic where silence is the new intimacy. Because a man who keeps tolerating "I'm tired" as a permanent excuse doesn't just lose his partner, he loses himself. And you're not here to live half alive beside someone who already left in spirit. Number 6. I don't know what's going on with you. This one sounds innocent, even playful. She says it with a tilted head, maybe a small laugh, as if she's confused by your presence. But don't be fooled. This phrase is rarely about genuine confusion. It's a maneuver. It flips the script and puts you on the defensive. Suddenly, you're the mystery, the unpredictable one, while she sits in the position of observer. It feels flattering in the moment, but underneath, it's an emotional trap. Psychologically, this is a projection tactic. She knows exactly what's going on. Her desire is fading, her attention is wandering, her energy is moving elsewhere. But admitting that would require honesty and accountability. So instead, she disguises it as curiosity about you. By saying she doesn't understand what's happening with you, she places the responsibility and the tension on your shoulders. Now you feel pressure to explain yourself, to perform clarity, to prove you're not the one making things strange. The impact on you is subtle but powerful. You get hooked by the ambiguity. You wonder if she's seeing something you can't. You start analyzing yourself, trying to adjust to a criticism that was never concrete. And in that loop, you lose your position as the leader of your own life. You stop being the man who decides, and you become the man who reacts. That shift alone can drain your confidence and make you easy to manipulate. So how do you handle it? You test, you don't take the bait. You respond with calm precision. I see things clearly. We're drifting apart. If you think otherwise, then let's sit down and define what's really happening. I don't play in the gray zone. That answer does two things. It asserts your clarity and challenges her to bring something real to the table. You're not confused, and you're not willing to be toyed with. If she meets you in that clarity, if she actually talks, brings details, and shows she wants to rebuild, then maybe there's room to fix the bond. But if she keeps circling back to the same vagueness, if she dodges or laughs it off, understand this: she's not looking for truth. She's using haze to keep you on the hook while she feeds her energy elsewhere. Your decisive move is simple. You don't wrestle with fog. You say, if we can't have clarity, then I won't stay in confusion. Then you act on it by stepping back, reclaiming your time, and refusing to be cast as the problem when the problem is her lack of honesty. Because a real man doesn't waste himself decoding games. He demands straight talk, or he walks. Number 7. I love you, but I'm not in love with you. Out of all the lines, this one is the most polished. It's been rehearsed, recycled, and passed around in countless breakups. At first, it sounds gentle. She still loves you. She still cares. But look closer. It's an emotional execution wrapped in pretty paper. What she's really saying is, you're safe, you're familiar, but you no longer light me up. It's not affection. It's pity. And pity is not the soil where attraction grows. Here's the psychology. Human beings hate being the villain. This phrase allows her to leave while keeping her image intact. By splitting love into two categories, love as care and in love as passion, she creates a loophole. She can tell herself she's being honest, even compassionate, while still pulling away. The truth is, when desire dies, the words, I love you, become a tranquilizer. They numb the pain long enough for her to step out without looking cold-hearted. The impact on you is devastating if you take it at face value. You hear, I love you, and cling to it like a lifeline. You convince yourself there's still something worth saving. You double your efforts. More gifts, more dinners, more surprises, thinking you can reignite the flame. But the more you try, the more invisible you become. Because she doesn't need more of your effort. She's already given her emotional effort to someone else, even if it's only in her fantasies. So what do? You test. Not with flowers or speeches, but with clarity. You say, if that's how you feel, I need to know. Are you willing to rebuild with me, or are you already gone? That question forces a choice. It removes the comfort of half-truths. A woman who truly wants to work it out will step forward and commit. But if she hesitates, if she mutters, I'm not sure, or I need to find my feelings, recognize what's being said between the lines. She's telling you goodbye without owning the word. And that's where your decisive move comes in. You don't plead. You don't compete with ghosts. You look her in the eye and say, I wasn't born to be loved halfway. Then you step back, not with bitterness, but with dignity. Because staying after that line is self-betrayal. It's choosing the role of furniture in her life while she searches for fire elsewhere. And you, my friend, are not furniture. You're a man. And a man with self-respect never accepts a love that arrives with disclaimers. You've just heard the 7 phrases that every man needs to recognize. None of them are harmless. None of them are accidents. Each one, I feel disconnected. I need time for myself. Not everything has to be physical. You've changed too. I'm tired. I don't know what's going on with you. And I love you, but I'm not in love with you, is a signal. Together they form a pattern, the slow withdrawal of a woman who no longer chooses you, but doesn't want to be the villain in the story. And here's the truth that most men miss. If you ignore these signals, you're not just unlucky, you're complicit. Because once you've seen the signs, staying blind is a choice. Too many men fall into the trap of comforting lies. They wait, they excuse, they overcompensate. They trade their dignity for crumbs of attention. That's not loyalty, that's self-destruction. The smarter move isn't to explode or to beg, it's to test. Every phrase can be answered with clarity. Set the talk, demand specifics, ask the hard question. Not in anger, not in panic, but in calm strength. That's how you find out if there's anything real left, or if she's already gone in spirit. And once the truth shows itself, you act. You don't live in limbo. You don't settle for half a bond. You decide. Because a relationship can survive arguments, routine, even conflict. What it cannot survive is indifference, wrapped in polite excuses. And a man who accepts excuses instead of truth is not a partner. He's a placeholder. You're not here to be a placeholder. You're here to be chosen, fully, by someone who still feels fire for you. So here's your next step. Comment below. I see the signs clearly now. Subscribe to this channel if you want more tools to protect your mind, your dignity, and your future. Share this video with that friend who keeps justifying the unjustifiable. Let him hear what you just heard. Because men who wake up don't chase shadows. They don't beg for clarity. They don't settle for pity disguised as love. They test. They confirm. And when the truth is out, they choose themselves. That's not arrogance, it's self-respect. And self-respect is the one thing no one can take from you unless you give it away.